All right, hello everybody. My name is Casey, and you can also see Krista on your screen there. And Krista's helping me moderate today. Thank you for joining us for another session for LPPS Tech Week. And today we're talking about some cell phone applications you can use in your classroom, also some that you can use just on your own to help you with your teacher efficiency, and some that your students can use. My name is Casey, and you can also just a minute. Okay, so I want to thank you for joining, and if you're tuning in later and watching, thank you for coming back and watching this presentation. So first things first, I am Casey. Thank you again. I've spent 10 years teaching science and chemistry at Doyle High School, and that is where I currently am. So that's a little bit about me. If you'd like to, tell us what school you teach at in the chat feature. If you're watching from a computer, there's a chat feature over to the right side of the screen for you where you can actually type in any questions you may have. You can type in any type of comment, or if you want to add in any apps that you use that I don't cover at the end, so we can look at those. That would be greatly appreciated. So use that chat feature. But go ahead and tell us what school you teach at, because we definitely appreciate you joining in today, and so we want to welcome you. All right, what are we going to look at today? Well, before we look at that, let's do attendance, okay? tinyurl.com/LPPS attendance. And if you would, you can take your cell phone and open the camera, and then that camera can scan this QR code. You can put it in right there on your phone if you'd like, or you can copy and paste into your URL bar. Hello, Rachel and Courtney. We're glad you guys are joining in today. Do we have that banner we can add in for them as well? And then we'll also put it down here in the chat for you as well, guys, if you want to copy and paste. So we'll give you guys a minute to do this. Get you entered for some door prizes. And the grand prize is an interactive panel, I believe, I think they're putting everyone, whoever attends the most sessions or something of that nature is going to get entered into a drawing for an interactive panel, which is a huge, almost like a smart board for your classroom. So that's really neat. And then I just saw all the cool little door prizes sitting in one of the offices for your attendance today. So go ahead and enter into that. And we're going to go ahead and move forward because we now have that banner up for you. What we're going to cover today is we are going to review some PII information, okay? And if you've not heard of what PII is, if you're new to our district, we're going to go over what that is and what the policies are about PII. And then also where you can find our Livingston Parish cell phone policies, okay? So we're going to talk about that, show you that briefly. And then we'll go through some cell phone apps for both teachers and students. And this is really going to be more of a show and tell type format. There's a few things I might show you how to do in a couple of apps, but for the most part, it's going to be a show and tell of what is out there for you and what some of the teachers think are some of the favorite apps they can use with their students. So we're going to go ahead and look at our little disclaimer about PII. So do not forget, in Louisiana, we have laws to protect our students' personal identifiable information. And so those laws are very important that we follow them as educators. We need to double check that the platforms we're using are actually compliant. We have signed forms from many vendors and many platforms already that they're not going to share our student information. And if they are not on that list, we will need to request permission. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what is PII. So if you're never heard that term, maybe you're a new teacher, it's anything that identifies a student, basically, can help identify them. So we don't want to put a student's full name into a system if that system is not going to protect their information, because a lot of these applications, they might start sharing information, right, with third-party vendors or whatnot. And now you've put this child's name or date of birth or whatever it is out there for the world to see. So we're going to protect that child's identity. And so PII includes their full name. It includes their social security number, also their date and place of birth, and then their mother's maiden name as well. And then things we tend to not think about are things like their biometric records, so fingerprints or signature. So let's say you have a class set of iPads in your room, and the students want to start creating the thumbprints. Well, don't let them do that, okay? So we don't want the fingerprints of the students in there as well. And again, over here on this side where it's pink, if an app requires this information, a contract must be signed with the company. And for a full list and a blank contract, we have a page on our Livingston Parish webpage that's dedicated to PII. So you click on staff when you get to the main page, and then if you'll see a pop-up menu, go down to PII, and you can get lots of information there. All right, some best practices if you were to use any apps with your students is to use just a student's first name and then put the mascot of your school as their last name. So if I teach at Doyle Elementary, I could do Casey Tiger and Jeff Tiger and so on. So you could definitely do that to get around PII if you have an app you want to use in your classroom. You can also instruct students to just do a first name, last initial, or you could do a first name, last initial instead of putting their entire name into a system. Okay, there are some district cell phone policies. Always make sure you speak with your principal first because our district did adopt some cell phone policies back last year, and it was piloted in January of this year, and then we went out for the pandemic. So definitely talk with your immediate supervisor about if they are participating in the cell phone use on their campus and refer to them first, okay? After that, there is a great deal of information. So if you're an administrator or a teacher and you want more information about the cell phone policies that the district adopted, you can go to the district webpage, and under staff and extranet, you have to log into the extranet. Okay, so when you click on the staff button, it brings up a list. You will click on extranet and it forces you to log in. So you have to use your network credentials to log in. And then once that pops up, there is a link to what's called the extranet sitemap. And so inside of that extranet sitemap, you will have some more cell phone training, and there's a link out to the right where you can get that information. That cell phone information includes 4 training modules, and there's also cell phone sign-off forms for your school. So those sign-off forms include instruction on digital citizenship, as well as staff and student acceptable use and training that needs to be given before we just allow the blatant use of cell phones in the classroom. All right, I want to go ahead and start getting into some of the apps that I think are very helpful with regards to teacher efficiency. I put this Bitmoji on here because I wanted to tell you a little bit about my backstory. So I just moved this summer, but for the past 5 years, I lived in a pretty rural area. So my home was in a pretty remote area, and I did not have home internet simply because no one on my street did. It wasn't run down that street. And so using cell phone apps, if you have an app or a phone with unlimited data, can really help in that scenario. And so I know that many of our students have smartphones, okay? And most of us have smartphones in this day and age. And apps can be really useful in helping you in a situation if you don't have internet. Another thing about apps is that I think a lot of people don't realize what their cell phone is capable of. It is a little computer in your hand. And so there are a ton of things out there to help streamline and make your teaching career go a little smoother. And so hopefully I can kind of share something with you today that you didn't know before you leave. So let's go ahead and let's look at the first one. Now I wanna give a disclaimer here because in our district this year, if we're using the Google Classroom platform, we are going to be able to do lesson plans in a different format in there. So I almost took out the OnCourse app completely, and I decided not to, mainly because if we go back to a traditional schedule and the district wants us to get back into OnCourse, I wanted you to know that this lesson planner app was available, okay? So if you go to the App Store and search for OnCourse Lesson Planner, this little icon will pop up. And so this was pretty cool because if I didn't get my lesson plans done beforehand, I could go into this app and there's a little pencil with an icon. I could switch dates, I could switch days. And as long as I had loaded my template at the school before I left into OnCourse, then when I opened it on my cell phone, the template was already there and populated for me, the district template. So then I could just go in and click each cell and click the pencil to edit. And I was able to, this was my favorite part, I was able to use the little microphone on the keyboard at the bottom. And the microphone allowed me to speak my lesson plans into life. And that was a huge time saver because, I type very fast, but that was still a great time saver for me to speak my lesson plans into life, and it's really neat. So this is a completely free app, and I know we're not using it this year, but I did want to let you know it was there for the future in case we go back to using this system. So it allows you to also view them. If you're kind of running late on a Monday morning, oh, what did I say today? I was doing, what am I starting with? What supplies do I need to pull out of my closet? Then you can very quickly open that app and see what you had planned. So I'm going to leave these in there and you can always go back and look at them. And there are some tutorials that I have linked to the presentation. So if you wanted to go back and learn some more, then you can go click on this link and log into your OnCourse account, and there are some tutorial videos there on how to use the apps. All right, the next one we're probably most of us are familiar with, and many of us, if not most of us, have this Outlook app already on our cell phone. Okay, so there is a Microsoft Outlook email app. You can get it on Android, you can get it on Apple, on iPhone. So the app is completely free, and this is what you can do with it. So at the bottom of the screen, when the cell phones pop up, you have three choices. There's like a little mail envelope, and then there's a magnifying glass, and there's a little calendar. So first things first, you have your mail envelope, which is telling you you are in your inbox, you're in your actual email. And you can toggle between either the focused or the other categories. You can also use the filter, which is right here underneath my red arrow, to narrow down your search. And then you can use the little box with the pencil to create a new email straight from your phone. You can click on your image, your icon to the left of inbox, and change which inbox you're in, or which folder you're in. So if you need to go look at what you deleted or into another folder you have, you can do that there. The next one with the magnifying glass at the bottom of the screen lets you search. So you can search for recent contacts, you can search for recent files. When you create and set up this on your phone, you are able to log in with your Microsoft credentials. And so you can actually see sometimes things link. It depends how deep you go with your apps, but things can link across these different apps together. So your OneDrive could also be linking to your email. And then lastly, the calendar. You can use the plus sign to create new events into your calendar where you can then share them with other contacts. And by contacts, I mean your school contacts. I don't mean the ones on your cell phone. There's also a calendar or a little bulleted list square to the left of the plus sign, which allows you to change your calendar view. So you can look at it monthly, or you can go more detailed and look at it weekly, or I think even daily, where it's broken down by the hour so you can see your schedule. So that's pretty useful for scheduling meetings, especially if you are a part of our SPED department and you have a great deal of meetings you're constantly holding. So I want to show you 3 features that you can do in this app that I don't think many people realize is available. Okay, the first feature is how to set up automatic replies. So when would you use this? You would use this when you're on vacation, or maybe you are out sick, or maybe you are just gone for a week for a conference, right? And so what this does is it tells whoever sends you an email, it tells them, I am out of the office or I am out of the classroom until such and such date. And so that is really useful because if you're on vacation, you may not reply immediately to their email, and it just lets them know, hey, I'm going to get to it in a week, but right now this is why you're not getting a response. And so it's really easy to set up. The first thing you would do is you would click on the icon to the left of the inbox. And when you click there, it brings up this little screen. And the gear at the bottom of the cell phone is where you want to click. So this is always your settings. I know we're pretty much getting used to that gear being our settings. And then it'll list the different accounts you have. You can see I have my OneDrive linked through my school account, and then this is my email. Okay, so the one with Office 365 is where you will click from there. When you click that, there is a portion that says automatic replies, and right now it's off. And so what I can do is I can click on this, and then it brings up a screen where this button is turned off. When you click on that button and turn it on, you now have an option to reply to everyone who sends you an email, even people from outside of the organization, which is really good to do if you get a lot of parent emails so that they know that you're not just ignoring them for a week. And then also reply only to those in my organization. And you put your message down here where I have it boxed in. So you can say I'm out of the office or the classroom until July 14th. And this was one I actually used when I was on a vacation. After you're done, you do need to click this check mark at the very top of the screen to save the changes that you just made. So when you click on the check mark to save the changes, what you'll see is a banner at the top that says automatic replies. And then there's a blue link that says turn off. Okay, so it's reminding you right now you have automatic replies set in your inbox. And if you don't want that to be happening anymore, you need to click this turn off button. So you don't have to actually go back into the settings to turn it off. You can do it from the top of your email when you're ready. And that's a great reminder. So when I came back on vacation and I saw that, I went, oh yeah, I need to turn this off. And then all you do is click the turn off. Okay, so that's really neat. My next favorite feature in Outlook is how to set do not disturb times for you. Okay, we work hard all day and a lot of times all summer, and many of us want a quiet time where we're not getting notifications popping up on our cell phones every time we get an email. I was getting, I'm a part of several science groups, and through my school email would sign up for things for my classes. And so several emails were coming in, sometimes in the middle of the night when they would push these things out. And of course it would disturb my phone and my sleep. So what I found was that you can set do not disturb times. And how you do this is if you go back and click the icon that's to the left of your inbox at the top, whatever your icon is, if you have your picture or Bitmoji and you click it, then this screen opens up. And there's a bell out to the side of your Office 365 at the top. If you click on that bell, then this window pops up for do not disturb. And when you scroll down, you will see this little area for scheduled do not disturb. Now, I love this because you can see when I have it turned on. I have mine turned on for every weekday from 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. That means that whenever I leave the school at 3:30, my emails will not be alerting me every time. I will not get a ding every time one goes off. I will not get an alert or a banner. Now my email is constantly updating in the background. It doesn't change anything. It's not denying emails. It's just not sending the notification directly to your phone. So it's not bothering you. And that's great, especially if you want to be able to shut off and turn your brain off and focus on your family or whatever it is you're doing after school. And then also you can see have one set for the weekends. So it's set also to not alert me on Saturdays and Sundays when I get a new email. So you can toggle those on, and then you can click here and actually adjust when you want those to come on. Okay, so from here you would scroll back up to the top, and you do have to click one of these options until I turn it off for 1 hour or until tomorrow. So I usually click until I turn it off. And when I do that, it puts a check mark next to that selection. Okay, so from here, when you get out of that, you should see a bell that's next to your Office 365 whenever Do Not Disturb is turned on. So it may not come on if it's during the hours you want to receive notifications. So if you're an admin or an instructional coach or whatever it is, and you're walking around campus constantly, maybe you're a teacher that hops classrooms or moves different campuses, and so you want your emails to be coming through during the day. But then maybe if you're that teacher who travels campus to campus. When you go home, you may not want an alert on your phone. So those are some options. I love the do not disturb, but you see a little Z's inside of the bell, and you see the little Z's next to your name when it's on. Okay. Another favorite is how to change your signature. You can do that from the settings gear, and we're almost done with the Office 365 app. But if you click on the gear at the bottom, and again, I got here by clicking the picture to the left of the inbox where it says inbox. So if you click on the gear, and right towards the bottom, it should have somewhere where it says signature. And so when you click on signature, you can actually come in and change and add whatever it is. Because I found that I do not think the Office 365 on our computers syncs up to this. So I think I had to go manually put my signature in, because for a while it was just saying sent with iPhone. So sometimes you get the emails from your principal or from a coworker and it'll say sent with iPhone at the bottom. But you can actually go in and put your signature in here as well. Okay, so those are some of my favorite features. If you'd like to learn more about Microsoft Email, the app, you can actually click here in the presentation later, and there are some tutorial videos that are linked for you. Okay, now we're going to get into a new app, and this one is one of my favorites, and I put it at the beginning so that if you got bored and wanted to leave me, you would at least see this one, because this one has really changed. It's definitely helped me out. I don't want to say changed my teacher life, but kind of changed my teacher life, okay? So let me explain how this one works. This is the Microsoft Office app. Some of you have heard of or maybe even used Microsoft Lens. Okay, so the Microsoft Office app actually incorporates Microsoft Lens. Okay, so what it does is it takes all of these things and puts it together. So it now includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneDrive, which means you can access all the files you have in your OneDrive. You can access any of those documents you have saved in your OneDrive, but you can also create new ones. And I know some of you go, well, why would I want to do that on a phone if I have a computer? And I get that, but I'm about to show you something really neat that you can use your phone for, okay? It is completely free, and you will sign in with your Office credentials that we use at school for our emails, the same thing. So this actually creates and links together Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and integrates Lens technology. And what Lens technology does is it allows you to take images from your phone, so you can use the camera, and it will convert those images into editable Word documents and Excel documents. It can scan PDFs, it can capture whiteboards, it can enhance digitally what it is you're capturing based on what you tell it is. So if you say I'm capturing a document, then it will enhance it as a document. It will kind of reposition it so it's all even. And you can see on the screen, this person just took a picture of a spreadsheet and it converted it to a new spreadsheet for her digitally. And so that was just paper copies and you scan, and that is really neat. And then there's another little feature inside of this app. If you go in and open Word inside of the app, you can now use Word dictation. So one time I did go to a doctor's office and I was sitting and I knew it would be a little bit of a wait, and I realized I had left all of my stuff at school. A lot of times I bring stuff home, but this time I was like, I'm gonna leave everything at school. Well, when I got to the doctor, I realized, it hit me that I did not make a quiz for a class. And this was a new class I had been teaching. This was the first year I had taught it. And so I used the Microsoft app and the little dictation tool and was able to speak my quiz out like that. It was really fast. You can use the keyboard, and there's actually full editing features that are included, like the highlighter and bold and bullets. But I liked it because I could talk it out really quickly. And then what's neat is because it's synced to your OneDrive, when I got to school the next morning and just got on my computer, I was able to print it directly to the printer and have my copies ready to go instead of scrambling and running around like crazy. And I was able to do it all from my phone. So I'm going to show you some of the features here. This is what happens when you pull it up. And this is the home screen. So when you open the app, you generally will see different recent applications that you have opened, whether in your OneDrive or on your phone. And these are all linked to my OneDrive, my account that's in the cloud. And so there is a home button, which is where you are. There's a plus sign, and then there's an actions tab. Now, if you click on this plus sign, what pops up are these three options. So on the notes feature, if I click on notes, it allows me to type a new note, and I can click these three dots and change the color. I can click the box with the arrow and share it with myself, or text that note to someone, or email that note to someone. And then just click done to save it. And again, you see different options you have here. And this is similar to the note function that's already on an iPhone. Okay, now the lens feature, this is the one that I really, really enjoyed. The lens feature is really neat because you can come in, and I've circled the things that are just super exciting. I had a textbook. It was not the one we were using in the district for the class, but it was just one I got at a textbook adoption company. And there was an article that I really liked inside of that textbook, a really neat feature that they had, and I wanted it so that I could edit it for my students. Now, I could have taken the book and I could have copied it, and that's fine, but there were some things I didn't want to include. So you can use this particular portion of the app to scan the text straight from the book. It's going to create a new Word document for you, and then you can go in and you can highlight and paste and remove what you want out of it and fix anything that might be a little funky. Okay, so really neat application, because you can definitely use things that are in a paper format and scan them into a new Word document, and it's editable. So completely editable, so really neat. Another cool little feature is the dictation feature here as well. So if you were to click on dictation, you can do what I was saying earlier, where it opens you a new Word document and you can speak out whatever documents it is you're trying to create. Okay, from there you can also scan a data table. So science teachers, math teachers, if you see a really neat table in an article somewhere, maybe you're reading a magazine while you're waiting at the doctor's office, whatever it is, you can actually use this app to scan that table, and it auto formats and moves everything into a table for you in Excel. And so then you can go in and you can edit it. So more that it can do is actually create PowerPoints for you. So you can take pictures from your phone and you can actually import them, and it'll create a little PowerPoint for you as well. So that's just some of the features of the lens capture that is really neat. This tab over to the right at the bottom of the app, the Actions tab, does a lot of similar things, but I wanted to point out something that was different. And you can see it highlights the really popular ones, image to text, which again, like I said, this could be some other book that you have that you want to just take that text over without having to sit there and hand type it. But image to table is there. And then this section at the bottom is really neat. If someone sends you a PDF, you can actually click on this and it'll pull up a window and allow you to add your signature. So that's neat too. And then you can also scan other documents and save them as a PDF, and they'll be uploaded straight to your OneDrive. There are no more clicks you have to do. It's going to be in your OneDrive. So then when you log into your email at school on your computer and you have your waffle for all of your Microsoft apps, and you click on that waffle, if you go to your OneDrive, then those files you scanned from this app are already there for you. So that is the Microsoft app, and later when you go back and if you need to come back, you can click on that link to see more about it. There are other applications available through Microsoft Corporation. So all of these are available to get as an app. If you use OneDrive with your students, maybe the high school level would use this more so, or if you're planning to use Teams, there are apps for all of those. Whoop, back up a little bit. Okay, in addition to those, again, these are some of my favorites. I have, I believe the Drive app is this first icon, but I have the Drive app. I think I keep Sheets, Docs, and Slides all on my cell phone, along with the Google Classroom app. And I did not label these, but this first triangle is your Drive symbol that you've probably begun becoming accustomed to seeing as we're moving into Google Classroom. And so in this Drive, you can import folders. So if you have stuff on your computer, you can definitely import those folders. So y'all don't get too scared about us now using Google applications. It's pretty easy to click and add the things that you normally use to your Google Drive so that it will be available in Classroom. But all of these things are available for apps on your cell phone as well. Again, because I was a teacher with no internet, when we went out for the pandemic back in March, I had to continue teaching my AP chemistry class. So for me from home, the only thing that saved my life was having these apps on my phone. I was able to post assignments straight to my Google Classroom. I was able to keep my time log on sheets directly from my phone. This little icon, the circle at the bottom left, is Google Earth. This one you may not be familiar with is Google Translate. And so that one's kind of neat. And then you've got your Google Meet icon, and then Jamboard. If you're not familiar with Jamboard, it's like an interactive whiteboard. And you can share those whiteboards with your students and assign them copies in Google Classroom, and they can actually write and annotate on them. And then of course, Calendar if you choose to use it. Okay, so those are all available from Google, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look inside of the Google Classroom app. Same functions you get on a computer, really good if students don't have a computer or if they're sharing a computer. I know the district is sending out surveys about the technology access so that we can get devices into the hands of our students. But if anybody is on the go, from a teacher standpoint, I can log into my Classroom app. I can actually check and even grade and return assignments directly from the app. And it is really user-friendly. It is not difficult to use at all. And then when I'm ready to switch users, I go back to the main class page where it blocks all my classes. And my daughter can get on and tap the icon and click on her icon, and all of her classes pop up, and she can see her assignments. And that was actually how my kids had to do some of their assignments back in March and in April, was through my cell phone, because we could not get internet to a computer at our home. And so it allows you to do that. It allows you to post, it allows you to open students' assignments and to see them and to grade them and to return them. This was just a video I made for later if you wanted to scroll through and see. This is actually my cell phone app. It shows you when you click over here, it lists your classes that are available. You can try to open the calendar, but you would need to download the app to see the calendar. Okay, and if I click into one of my classes, you can see here's my empty stream. This is for the new year, but I can click on the People tab to see who's in it, the Classwork tab, and I can click the plus sign and go ahead and add assignments. So really neat feature. You can do it on the go. And so that's what I like about it, is you can do it on the go, essentially. So if you forget to do something, if this app is on your cell phone and you don't have a computer with you, you could go in and quickly edit and change it. You can access your settings. You can do so much with it. Okay, so pretty useful app. Again, you can come back and click this icon because I have linked some more information about it. All right, another neat one that's free by Google is called Google Expeditions. If you have students who are really, what do I want to say? They like extra enrichment, then Google Expeditions is such an amazing app because you can search for just about any topic, and it's going to pull up virtual reality and augmented reality scenes for them to flip through. So I know some teachers have attended some virtual reality workshops and they've gotten the virtual reality goggles, and they might have a set of iPods or iPhones in their room that are specifically for their students. So if you're one of those teachers that's ever written a grant and gotten those things, this is a great app to install on those devices. But more so, even my high schooler was really intrigued whenever I was showing him some of these scenes, and he's walking around with my cell phone and looking at the different scenes. And so you can see I'm showing over here, this is a look at earthquakes, and then I'm going to let it get to the point where I pulled up a cell in biology. And if you're using augmented reality, it puts an object into the scene that you were in using your camera. So if I'm sitting here at a table, I can drop a cell, an animal cell, onto the table, and then I can walk around it with my cell phone, and it's literally moving as I'm walking, simulating it being right in front of me in real life. This is a really neat app. I mean, as a teacher, I was playing with this app a lot because it was super interesting to go find things that were related to my content and see what was out there. You can also do this with your cell phone and in your class and get a mirroring app that mirrors your phone to your computer for your students to see. So let's say I do not have apps or I do not have phones in my classroom, right? Maybe my principal doesn't allow them to be used on my campus, or maybe I don't have a set of iPads to use or to install this on. I can put this on my phone And then I can use a mirroring app to put it on my smartboard or my projector, and the students can still see what we are seeing. So really neat. And let me fast forward the video a tiny bit so you can see what it looks like. So you drop that cell down onto, this was me in my house the other day, dropping the cell down onto the floor. So there's the floor. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a cell that pops up. And then what happens is as I move, I'm moving around the cell. So that's what's meant by augmented reality. It is a really, really neat tool, and it's engaging. So it really grabs the students and pulls them in. And so my 10th grade student, who probably he'll be in 10th grade next year, and he probably could care less about school, right? He was interested in this. He was like, oh, this is neat. And he grabbed my phone and he was walking around it. So it's really neat. And you can flip through the different scenes at the very bottom. What you would do is you would grab them and you would throw them to the side. And what it does is it puts the next portion up. So now it moved on to the nucleus. And so they can pull this tab up by clicking the white part, and it tells them about the nucleus. What is the nucleus of a cell? But they can walk around and get close to it if they want and move around it. So super, super neat. There's a mitochondria. I think I put a Golgi apparatus in there and so on. And you really can do this with just about any topic. Go check out Google Expeditions. Highly recommend it because it's going to really pull your students in. It's very engaging. Really neat stuff. Okay, again, I'll have it linked here. You can come back to this slide later and click on that icon to go look it up. All right, another one, if you are a teacher of high school or even middle school, and some of the lower grades could use ZipGrade as well. ZipGrade's one of my favorites. It is amazing because you use your phone in place of a Scantron scanner. And the only thing with ZipGrade is you're gonna have to print your own bubble sheets. But it's really neat because you can grade them anywhere, okay? You get 100 scans per month for free. So if you are a high school teacher and you have 130 students and you give at least 2 tests, you're gonna run out of scans in that month. But let me tell you, after that, it is only $6.99 for a year, and I pay it every year. I don't even care. I'm like, take my $6.99 because there are amazing features with ZipGrade. ZipGrade allows you to itemize. It allows you to go in and see how the students did by question. So it'll tell you the amounts. It's really neat. And when you scan it, you get green circles if they got it right, and you can set it up to get a yellow circle to show you where the answer should have been. It's pretty quick, it's accurate, and it's very organized. I would not recommend going online and entering your students' names because of PII. So just have your students write their names on their forms and do their first name and their last initial here. Okay, it gives instant feedback. I have used this where students have come in and they needed to make a test up, and I could literally scan it as soon as they were done and say, hey, on the multiple choice portion, you got a 45 out of 50. Great job. I still have to go grade your written questions. But it's immediate feedback for the students and for you, because you can really see, oh man, every kid is missing question number 1. We need to go back and look at that. There are multiple answer sheets. So right now there is a 20 question bubble sheet, a 50 question bubble sheet, and a 100 question bubble sheet. You can also put in multiple keys, and now they have it to where you can actually go in and you can edit your bubble sheet. You can change it, and you can do almost like a matching or a true false. You can change some of the titles, and so that's really cool. But this is what they look like. You go online, you download those PDFs. I actually like to just screen snip them, and then for the 20 question form, I'll put 4 on a page. For the 50 and 100, I'll put 2 on a page, and then that is plenty big enough. The circles are plenty big enough for the kids, and it doesn't waste paper to do that. Again, you can scan from anywhere. Here's what I love about it: multiple forms, instant feedback. I can grade them in my car on the way to vacation on Friday before Thanksgiving if I need to get the grades done and I don't want to do it, the last day before we're returning. I can do that anywhere. And so exam statistics, you don't have to put your students' personal identifiable information into their system though. Just have them write their names. Okay. What I caution you about, what I've discovered, is that if I scan under a really bright fluorescent light, every now and then there is a glare that can say that the student got the answer wrong. So just watch out for that and try to get into a spot where there's not a light directly over the top of your bubble sheets. Another thing is you can make sure to remind your students to check their eraser marks just like they would on a regular Scantron, and make sure that if you're using multiple forms, this third bullet here, that you've double checked your students have keyed in A, B, C, or D keys. Okay, you can actually go in and key that in on your zip grade key. Super easy to do, and but make sure that they're doing that because it does default to key A if they don't have anything bubbled in. All right, so more information will be linked here on how to do the specifics. And again, I'm going to give my email later. So if you do have a question about any of this, because again, it's a show and tell, I'm trying not to go too detailed into each app. But if you do have questions, you'll be able to hop over. Of course, we all know and love the Remind app. A couple things I want to point out about Remind that you may not have realized is from within the app, you can actually add your co-teachers. So I know that my students, my children, let me say it this way, my children would get multiple or the same messages from both of their teachers every day. And obviously it's going to depend on which school the kid is at and what the policies are and what the principal is wanting the teachers to do. But the school my children went to, they were getting reminds every day, right, with the image of their teacher's board and what they were supposed to be doing and what's for homework. And then, but the other teachers would also send the other teacher's stuff as well. Multiple. You can set up, especially if you're elementary and you have the same group of children that just switch back and forth, you can set up a class where it is just where both of you are owners of that class and you're co-teachers. And so that's really helpful because then the parents and the students aren't getting double the messages. So check into that. You can send messages here, attach files here, and the best part is you can link your Google Classroom, your Google Drive, your OneDrive, and even Flipgrid to your Remind. So when you go to push out an assignment to Google Classroom, you can actually tap the Attach More and select the class and select the assignment that you want to remind the kids about. That's super neat, and of course, Remind is free. Lots of different roles people can select when they jump in. Again, PII, Remind allows students to join in with their first name and last initial. All right, you can set office hours in Remind, similar to how we did in our email, so that you're not getting notifications outside of your office hours. Or actually, you might still get the notification, but it does tell the student this is outside of the teacher's office hours, and they may not get back to you right away. The way you do that in the app is you click on the 3 lines at the top left, which I'll refer to as the hamburger. I've now adopted hamburger, and then the 3 dots are going to be the snowman. That's what I'm calling them. But you click on the 3 lines, and then you can go set it up there. And so what they will see is they will see this, right? You will see this prompt. And so the student will see this prompt, they will see this prompt and it will say, oh, Miss Moscow's office hours don't start until blah, blah, blah. Are you still want to send her this message? And so they could say yes or no. Okay, so there's a lot you can do. You can set this up on the web, but from the app, you can create a class at the bottom. And then you can go in and add in your code teacher, like I was saying. This is a very neat tool, is to come in and add a code teacher. So if you add a code teacher, understand that you're adding basically an owner to that class, and that owner has the same abilities that you have. So if you just have a team, like an athletic team, maybe a cheer team that you're setting this up for, and you have a parent who kind of helps you run some things, the parent, you may not want them to be the class owner. You would not maybe want to add them as a class owner because then they're going to have access to PII of other children. So make sure you understand class owners probably need to just be your co-teacher that teaches the same students, because they can then manage their participant lists, send the announcements, and manage the chat messages. They can even change the settings. But once you add a co-teacher or an owner, you can't remove them. They will have to take themselves out. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so lots of directions here. And I'm going to try to pick the pace up a little bit. And I know I haven't shut up. So I'm going to try to make sure we can get to everything. But under your settings, when you go to that particular class, choose the class. And so this is showing up as my 2019-2020 AP Chemistry class. I click on the Settings tab over here. And then down here at the bottom, I can choose add a class owner. And so that is how I will do that. Okay, you can then also click the three dots. If you go up to the people tab, that's at the top of your screen under your class. There are people. So let's say you have a student who moves in the middle of the year. When you think about it, they'll take them out of Remind. Many of them do it themselves. They'll tell it to stop sending them messages, but you can actually remove students from this menu as well if you click the three dots. All right, you can also add class owners from other places as well. You can go to that person's name, click the three dots, and then you can select add as a class owner from there. Remove them from the class, block them, or report them. All right, so do the same thing from the web, and we're just going to kind of keep going. How do you share that information out with your students and parents? There will be an area where you can get some links there as well. If you click on options, you can then display or enter, you can enter emails, but you can also get a printable PDF, and you can give in-person instructions as well. So if it's open house, you can display those in-person instructions on the screen. And even if it's virtual, you can display them on your screen and share your screen if you're doing a virtual open house. And then people can enter the code and they can add in. So, okay, we're gonna go ahead and this is what that would look like, showing people how to log in person and then giving them a link. You can copy and paste it. So you can put this link in your Google Classroom, and then when they're at home, they can click on it and they can log in. All right, Remind text come around like this. And here's the other big thing with Remind is connecting other accounts. So you can actually link up your Google Classroom account. All it does is ask you to put in your credentials. And you can also link your Drive, your OneDrive, and Flipgrid, and all these different things to it. And then you can send assignments directly, and it taps into those applications. Voice clips is another neat thing. There's so much on Remind. But if you want to do a voice clip, there's an option when you create a message at the bottom of the screen, and there's a little blue microphone. And if you tap on that little blue microphone, you get this screen. And so you press and hold the red button, and you'll see the little, like, it's a little circle, and it starts to fill up and kind of solidify, and that means it's recording. You get 20 seconds to record, and then you can send a voice recording. And I've done that too. Hey students, hope everybody's doing well. And like I'll send that out and they can play it and hear my voice. You can also translate. So if you're in a position where you need to translate some of the apps, you can come back and click here to see those instructions as well. All right. Groovy Grader is another really neat one. So we have about 10 more minutes or so. I think we're scheduled until, are we scheduled until 1:15? Okay. I mean, I'm going to try not to talk your ear off and bore you to death, but Groovy Grader is another neat one. A lot of us have these as little cardboard kind of plastic sliders that we keep on our desktop or with our graded papers. So Groovy Grader is neat because it's an app on your phone, and it does the same thing. And there is a free and paid for version. And I think all the paid for version does is pretty much take away some ads. So this is really neat because you can put in, you can change how it's set up. I think the one I have on my desk is set up for, I look at the points total, and then I have to figure out like how many they missed. But you can change it so that you're looking for either the number wrong or the number correct. And so that's a neat app that you can put on your phone. Khan Academy is great for students. They make apps for both the older students as well as the younger students. So especially with distance learning, you can get Khan Academy. The one on the left is for the older students, and Khan Academy Kids is for students ages 2 to 7 years old. So it's gearing more to those primary skills. And so again, it's really neat. I just have 2 videos that I'm not gonna really, there's no sound on them, but it just shows what's available there that I've linked in there as well. Okay, so Khan Academy is great because you can go create classes, get content, and watch video tutorials, and even do practice questions. So those are linked in the presentation as well. Socratic by Google is another app that is absolutely amazing because it allows students to get help with their homework. And so what they do is they scan a particular question, and Socratic is scanning the internet for maybe a video tutorial to help them see how to do that particular problem. And it'll pull up a video showing how to work a question maybe about work or power in physical science or something of that nature. So the Socratic app is completely free. It is made by Google, and a lot of people give it extremely great ratings. So when you get it on your phone, or a student gets it on their phone, they would select and sign in with their Livingston Schools account, and then they could actually flip through, and when you launch it and log in, it allows you, or it accesses your computer. Actually, they can't log in with their Livingston Schools account. I'm remembering that. It says that our Livingston Schools account is not signed up with Socratic, so they would have to use a personal email to sign up. But you can see all the subjects. And this is for a high school and university level. So if you're not really a high school or university teacher, you teach the younger ones, this app may not be, it's not going to be as useful for you, because the content is geared more towards high school and university. But you can try examples. It's really neat what you can do with Socratic. And it pulls up practice and things of that nature. And they can even ask a question, and it will pull up how to do velocity. So I was asking this a question, and it actually pulls up a little sample question. It pulls up the equation on speed and so forth. So even if you have a kid, you know, and you think this would be a great app to get them through some of their distance learning, Socratic is great. Chartistic's another one if you're a math or science teacher that you might want to consider looking into. Chartistic is a very simple app. This is literally what you see when you launch it. And you can click the plus sign to create a new graph. And so what it does is you can choose a bar graph, a line graph, lots of different options, pie. And I selected bar here. And so you've got all these things on the right side where I can add a bar with the plus sign. I can delete a bar and take up, if I only have 4 categories, then I'm going to take off the other 4 that I don't need. And then I can change what is shown on my graph as well with this tool. And so when I click on that, I can actually go in and change my title. I can make the title visible or not. I can click on values, and I can go in and actually change the values for each bar. And so it's really neat because it does allow the students to create graphs very quickly for content, maybe data they're collecting, or if they did a survey and they need to be able to produce a graph. Once the student is done selecting the type of graph and putting their values, they can click this little check mark and it shows up here. Now, when they click on their graph and want to show it with you, there is an icon that pops up. This is neat because they can share it and attach it to their Google Classroom here. So they can click on this icon, and when they do, they get all the share options. They can share it to their Drive, they can email it to you, they can attach it to some class things. The Numbers app on iPhone is similar. It's usually already pre-installed. And so for iPhone and iPad, you can watch how to use the Numbers app, which is similar. It just gives you some spreadsheets to put this in, but Chartistic's easy. All right, if you know anything about Kahoot, there's an app. And so I'm not going to go through the house of Kahoot, but I do want you to understand that if your school allows student devices to be used in the classroom and you don't have a set of devices, you can actually use, the students can use their cell phones to tune into your Kahoot and actually play Kahoot on their phones. So the Kahoot app is really neat because it allows that involvement, but then it also allows the student to go in and access Kahoots you might have pushed out already as a challenge, because Kahoot allows you to play those interactive quiz games, and you can send them challenges now where they can do it at their own pace and on their own time. And so another neat thing about Kahoot is if you're doing a Zoom or a Google Meet and you want to display the Kahoot, your students can have their cell phone, or they could split screen even, but they could have their cell phone and they can be seeing the questions that you're displaying on the screen as well as putting the answers in on their phone in the app. So Kahoot's wonderful. There's an Edpuzzle app, but it's only for students. So it does Edpuzzle integrates with Google Classroom. So as far as from the teacher end, we can actually import our Google rosters into Edpuzzle. And the student app is neat because they can go into their accounts and they can actually come in and do their Edpuzzles on their phones if they need to, or find themselves in a position where they need to do that. There's an extension for Chrome. If you get the Edpuzzle for your Chrome web browser, it will allow you to then turn any YouTube video you see into an Edpuzzle. And because I have the add-on personally, if I go watch any YouTube video, I do see this little thing at the bottom. So that's not really, what I just said was not really a cell phone app, but I did want to throw that out there because if you get the Edpuzzle app, it will show up at the top of your screen up here. And then this is mine right here. And then you can actually create an Edpuzzle from any video you already are watching. Okay, so from the student's view, this is what they see on their phones. They can log in with their Google accounts. They can see the classes they are a part of that you would set up as the teacher on their end, on your end, and then they can click in and see which Edpuzzles they have. They can watch it, and then every time there's a question, it pops up over here on the right side, and they can then answer and submit. So again, they can get their work done pretty much anywhere if they have that app. Okay, Quizzes is another popular one, as well as Quizlet. So go look into those because those allow you, I think Quizzes is more of a game, and Quizlet is more of flashcards where they can quiz themselves and they can do some other things with it as well. Tell your students to be careful though, because sometimes these are student generated, and so they need to watch the content and they need to make sure that the content is correct, okay, and matching up with what you have. All right, if you're in a position where you want to do some formative assessment, the app called Plickers is wonderful. You download it onto your phone as a teacher, and then on their website, you can actually download some really cool looking cards and play some games in your classroom. So if you'll see this picture I have displayed, these are what we call Plickers cards, and the students hold them up and you're displaying questions on your screen. And so again, you could almost assign and give each kid a Plickers card, and even if we're doing some distance learning, you can't really scan it, huh? So that doesn't work. But this does work in the classroom where you can actually scan their cards. It pops their name up on the screen of your phone with either a green or red icon. If it's red, it means the student got the wrong answer, and if it's green, it's correct. And so this is a Plickers card. You've never seen one. You'll notice that each corner has a little number. And so this would be like student number 1. On the Plickers website, I would need to go put my students' names there. So I would probably just be doing Sally M, Madeline M, Micah T, and I would not be putting their last names to protect PII. But the number corresponds to a specific student. So you would need to know what number they are, maybe create a spreadsheet and then give them this card. And then you would need their names into the Plickers website. On the side of each part of the card, where these squares are, you see a letter A, and then on the right side there's a B, and on the bottom there's a C, and then there's a D. So the student actually rotates the card and puts the letter of their answer choice on the top, and they hold it up. And then you use your phone and you scan, and it is detecting if that student is displaying A, B, C, or D, and it also knows which student. So it's great feedback because the kids don't feel embarrassed if they're getting them wrong. They can try their best, and it lets you know who's understanding a concept and who's not, like immediately right there on your phone. All right, so I have linked where to get the cards in the presentation, as well as a web post that someone wrote on their blog about Plickers as well. And Plickers is working on live interaction at home for students right now through laptops. So that is supposed to be released now. Right. And Flipgrid is another great one you can get on your cell phone. The students can use it. And I love Flipgrid because it is face-to-face interaction. So if we're in a position where we have to go back to a full virtual learning environment, this is fantastic because you can click that green plus sign and create a grid that has a topic or a question, and then you can add a video and say, hey students, this is my thought about global warming, and you can give like your thoughts, and then it's really cute because you can add stickers and sunglasses and all kinds of neat things to it. And then you share that link in your Google Classroom, or you push that link out through Remind, and then the kids will also click in and click the green plus sign, and then they can create their own videos as well. I've seen a lot of teachers, because you can change the time limit on the videos, some teachers will use this to have their students create TikToks. So they might give them a topic, and then they might say, all right, your group is responsible for making a TikTok style video about this particular topic. And then the kids film it, and when they're happy with their video, they submit it. Everyone sees everyone in the grid though, and you can reply to them. So what's neat about it is it does give all students a voice who may not normally speak up in front of the rest of the students in the classroom. So if they're at home and they can do that Flipgrid assignment and click and talk about their feelings, maybe it's a math problem and you want them to explain how they got to that answer, they can actually have their math work and say, I did blah, 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 blah. Or they could hold their camera up, film their math work, and point and say what they are doing in that math problem to get their work, and then they could submit that. So it's a great way to hear students' voices. It's fun, the students really love it, and it's pretty engaging. All right, we've been learning about 2 major video conferencing tools, Zoom and Meet, and there are 2 video links to both of these topics. So if you can Zoom from your phone. I actually had my own children do that during the months of March and April with their teachers. So I downloaded the Zoom app, and then my kids would put in the password that their teacher gave them, and they would join in on the Zoom right there from their phone. But you could also do it as a teacher from your phone. It still allows you to share your screen, but I don't know if you'd want to share your cell phone screen, probably not. But that app is out there, and that's students or teachers. Same thing for Meet, but to do Meet on your phone, you also must have Google Classroom installed. All right, there's a few more I'm going to quickly flip through that a lot of you have probably already heard of. There's BrainPop apps and BrainPop Junior, and then there's even BrainPop ELL for our English language learners. And so all of these could be installed on devices, whether in the class or whether if parents are asking for suggestions, these are great suggestions. We know BrainPop covers a wide variety of topics, and they can log into BrainPop for free on their own device as long as they have school credentials. I think it's when the school purchases it. Yes, they have a school account and their school purchases BrainPop, then they can log in for free on their own device at home. A few more math apps that I'm quickly going to flip through. Students can get scientific or even graphing calculators on their cell phones. As a matter of fact, I downloaded the graphing calculator to my cell phone because in AP Chemistry I need it, and I don't have one. I need to get one. So those are really neat. Prodigy, Kids Math, my children loved this app. Of course, it's no cost math games. They can play, they can go on quests, and a lot of the algorithms built into this application suit the child's need, and they adjust with the child's need. Prodigy does cover 1st through 8th grade math concepts. So if it's a student older than that, I mean, they might enjoy playing the game, but it's probably not going to benefit them. Here are some more applications that you can come back to. The My Math app on the right is more of flashcards. This one, I'm going to open it real quick. The one on the left is by Houghton Mifflin Court, the book publisher. It's another great math app as well. This one is really neat because this is a whiteboard. I put it under math because sometimes students might need to show some work, and we were talking about annotating earlier in the week on some interactive worksheets, but this is a really cool thing. It's free, but there are some in-app purchases. So Educreation Whiteboard is the name of this one in the middle. So you could always come back. Then there's a few English ones I'm going to throw out here. Grammarly, which helps with grammar as students are creating papers, writing papers. You have your Merriam-Webster dictionary. And then this is the Cited app that helps them with works cited pages and things of that nature. So especially if you have a high schooler, a middle school or high school student, and they're learning about research papers and they are doing a little bit higher level writing, these are some wonderful apps that could help them with that. Oh, I skipped the reading apps. So there are a ton of Scholastic ones. Go check out the Scholastic apps. They are completely free. Scholastic Book Wizard, it lists a ton of books. It actually allows you to make lists that you want for your classroom. So if you're a teacher, you can go in and create an account and actually form some lists for what you want in your classroom. Homebase is another one that takes you through these adventures. And so the students, it's almost liken it to like one of those adventure sites or escape room type things where when you click one choice, it'll take you somewhere else and then your story is changing as you go. So this is another really cool app by Scholastic, and they have lots of apps. Go check out the Scholastic apps. They're really neat. There's several cool science ones I'd like to show for any science teachers out there. NASA has a wonderful app that would help with research and that sort of thing. It's entirely free. This one is a frog dissection app in the middle. So what I liked about this one, I think it's free with some in-app purchases, so it depends what features you're accessing, but you could always, as a teacher, get this particular app and then use a screen mirroring application to put that up and project it on your screen for your students to see. So if you're not in a situation where you can get in a lab and actually dissect frogs, you can use this app to basically simulate it for your students on the board. And then another one of my favorites is the Google Science Journal. So this one on the right allows students to record data. And then the coolest thing about it is it ends up using your camera's built-in devices to do things like create light, capture light intensity values, or capture using the accelerometer, because our phones have accelerometers in them. So if you're a physics teacher, what's really neat about this is your students can actually collect data with their cell phone and enter it into their science journal, and they can create all these little different science experiments. So that one's really cool, and that's by Google, and it's entirely free. Okay, so let's see what else we have as we're wrapping up. Music teachers, there's lots of really neat ones here. This one is the NoteSite Reading Trainer. So your students can click in and practice reading, note reading. This one is GarageBand, so if they want to create and put music together, they can click on the guitar app, GarageBand. And then the one on the right is called BandLab. I was trying to think of it. BandLab. So it's another one where students can go in and practice their music skills and create music. Really, really neat. And then this one is the Music Tutor Sight Reading app. Okay, and again, they're all linked. So if any of these stand out to you, you can come back to the presentation and click on them and see. Foreign language apps, we have Duolingo on the left, looks like a little bird. My son used this last year when he had Spanish. It helped him a good deal. You have the Google Translate app in the middle, and then you also have Rosetta Stone, which I think we can get in Clever. There's access to it in Clever, I believe. And there's also what?
Clever app.
Clever app. Okay, there's a Clever app. So your students, and there's an iReady app. I had trouble with the iReady app on my cell phone for my children, but so we ended up having to go to my mom's and opening their work there. But anyhow, this next app, these are art and creation apps, and we're literally almost done, guys. So thank you for bearing in there or staying in there with me. This is a draw and tell app. The one in the middle is really fun. It's called Animoto. It's a social video editor, and you can take pictures and do stop animation. So if you're an artsy teacher or you want your students to do a project where they create some stop animation, maybe telling a story, the Animoto app is really neat. And then most of the iPhones should have iMovie on it. iMovie is fantastic. It's a super easy editor. You can upload pictures and videos straight from your phone. You can add text. You can add music. And then you simply save it to your phone, and then you can put that video onto your Facebook or onto your class webpage. So that's really, really neat. I've seen a lot of teachers using their Bitmoji virtual classrooms and stuff and doing some fun stuff with that with iMovie. And then, of course, we have Class Dojo. For any of you new to teaching, Class Dojo is a classroom management app that you could look into and see if that might work as well, where you can keep track of behavior and things of that nature. I just added this one in a few hours ago. It's a whiteboard and annotating app that you might be interested in if you're looking for an application where you can do some more whiteboard annotating type things. So what I want to know before I put up the survey is if any of you have an app that I didn't cover but you love, I would love for you to put it in this Padlet. And that is so that we can all come back and see that Padlet and see what other teachers are recommending, because this is just from my point of view. Some of these I did get from other teachers, but we all have resources that we love. And so if you have one you love and that I didn't mention, please go put it on the Padlet at tinyurl.com/LPPS apps. And we are about to start wrapping up. So I do want to give you a minute to type that link in and go to that Padlet and add your thoughts there, okay? So I'm gonna give you about 10 more seconds to get that at least into your URL bar before we put up the attendance survey, since we're running out of time. Okay, so please make sure if you joined us late that this bottom link, you go into the attendance survey and you go ahead and mark that you were here so we can enter you into the drawings. And then last but not least, go into the survey link, which is tinyurl.com/LPPS Tech Week, and make sure you give me some feedback and let me know your thoughts on today's session. Again, I'm Casey Moscow. My email's on the screen if you need to get back in touch with me. I do appreciate you staying this whole time with me and watching and tuning in. So thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the week and a great start to the school year. If you need the presentation, you can go look in the video description. This YouTube link will stay up. Okay, so it's going to stay active. You can come back and watch, but go to the presentation that I have linked and you will be able to flip forward to the application that stood out to you, and you'll be able to click some hyperlinks and it'll take you to the information page about that app. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and sign off, and I hope you have a great week.